So hi everybody, and I hope you're all doing good today. You're very welcome to our first product update webinar, and a big thank you to all of you for joining us today. I'll give it a few minutes as the numbers are climbing. But yeah, while we wait, I'll just give you a quick introduction as to who I am. I am Nicole Cunningham, and I am the product marketing manager for Lean Library here at Technology from Sage, and I'll be your host for the webinar today. And I'm joined by Becca Richards, who's Lean Library's senior product manager. So as I said, this is the first of our monthly webinar product update webinars, and today we'll be focusing on Site, which was launched at the beginning of February, and also Becca will be giving you a sneak peek at the version 2 of Site, which will be launching very soon, so we're very excited about that. But before I hand you over to Becca, if you want to go on to the next slide, just on to a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. So please check your audio and visual settings, and if someone could please kindly confirm in the chat box or via the question and answer box that you can indeed hear me and see the slides, so I'm not just talking to myself, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you cannot see the slides or hear me, we recommend leaving the webinar and rejoining Zoom. As you join, Zoom will prompt you to check your audio and visual settings. Hopefully that will work. Thanks for confirming that. And as always with these webinars, please do connect with each other in the chat and get the discussion going. And with regards to questions, please feel free to ask any questions either via the chat or the Q&A box, and we'll answer them live or via the chat or at the end of the session. And lastly, this webinar is being recorded today, and I will share it with you via email in the next few days, and it also will be circulated in the monthly Lean Library newsletters. So I think that's all for me. So please do enjoy, and I'll hand you over now to Becca.
Lovely. Thanks so much for kicking us off, Nicole. So hi everyone, thank you for joining our first monthly product webinar. As Nicole said, it's so nice to see so many familiar names in the attendees list. So welcome to everyone joining us today, but also to all of you who are watching the recording. Nicole, I can't see the chat, and I'm terrible at multitasking. So if there are any sort of particularly pertinent questions that you think can be answered throughout, just give me a shout and I can stop and answer. If not, I can pick up all of the questions at the end, because when we go on to the agenda slide, which is next, you can see we're earmarking a nice amount of time for questions today. So yeah, I will just recap on what Nicole said with a bit of an introduction to this webinar series. We wanted to start doing a short monthly update webinar so we can cover both our larger roadmap releases, so in today's case, Lean Library Site, but also give a nod to the smaller but impactful improvements that we make to the product on a continuous basis, and that's both to the dashboard for you and your library staff, but also obviously to the extension for the benefit of your end users. So we want to kind of make sure that we're keeping you abreast of these smaller improvements through multiple channels throughout the year. This webinar is one of those channels, as well as our monthly newsletters, but it just means that you're not missing anything. Great, and this is also a really nice opportunity for you to ask the product team, which would be me for these webinars, any questions you might have, and we can either answer them here or we can take them offline. Cool, so I mean, for the agenda today, as Nicole said, we are going to recap on Lean Library Site. Hopefully most of you will have seen the launch campaign that we sent out last month when we first launched Site, but we also have exciting news of the next release for Site. Then I'm going to go over some smaller improvements that we've slotted in alongside these larger new feature developments. And then after that, I'll cover what you can look forward to in the coming month or just under a month. And then finally, from me, it's our first product update webinar, obviously. So I will just mention a few roadmap themes that you can look forward to for next quarter and also beyond for the rest of the year. Great. So as mentioned, if it clicks, There we go. I'm going to start things off in earnest with Lean Library Site. So we developed Lean Library Site as a direct response to the need for a simpler way for students, but also researchers to cite references at point of need. And the point of need for us is really important here, as it's central to everything we do in improving student and researcher workflows, or helping to facilitate the improvement of them. And Cite enables your patrons to effortlessly obtain citations for articles they're accessing within their workflow via the Get Citation button in the pop-up. So you can see a little demo video, which is just going around on repeat on the right-hand side. And then what you'll see from this video is that the Cite tool will appear in the article alternatives pop-up. So for now, for the first launch, Cite is only available for article content, so DOI-driven content. All of your users will then just click the Get Citation button to be taken to a slide out screen with the citation style dropdown, which will change the citation format depending on the citation style that the user has chosen. And then it's just a case of copying the citation in the extension and pasting it into the user's bibliography or elsewhere, wherever they want to put it. And then just a sort of like a relatively like an interesting point of note, we pull all of our citation styles through from the Citation Style Language Repository, or CSL, which I'm sure many of you are very familiar with. But the really nice thing about this is that if you did want to add your own specific citation styles, for example, if you use a variation of Harvard, Vancouver, Oscola, whatever it might be at your institution, you can add it to the CSL GitHub repository. And after a certain amount of time, because we have a sort of recurring job to consistently scrape that GitHub repository, it will pull through to the extension dropdown. And we have created recently a support article for just guidance around how you can add your own citation style to the CSL for it to pull through to Lean Library Site. And I already know, having sort of gone through the CSL, even though there are thousands of citation styles in there, that a few of you already have your citation style saved in the CSL, so those will pull through automatically. And just a last point from me that on this is just that Cite is opt-out. So there's nothing that you need to do at this time to configure it, unless, of course, you wanted to turn it off, then it's just a one click to turn it off in your dashboard. Also, I can't see the chat, but do shout if the images seem a bit blurry. I was having some issues with my PowerPoint sharing, but
yeah, all looks good on my side anyways, Becca, so
okay, fantastic. Otherwise I'm sure we can share the slides after this meeting if not, but great. Okay, so this leads me on nicely to even more Cite features landing in the next few weeks. So version 2 of Cite follows hot on the heels of the initial launch, and it includes some highly requested features, both that bring benefit for you in the library and for your end users also. And a massive thank you to everyone who has sort of used the Cite feature and provided us feedback as we've been going along. This is something that we've sort of rolled into just kind of like our iterative release process. So some of the bits of feedback have already been released, and others have just been brought into the next release for Cite, so the next big release. The next release for Cite version 2, as you can see on the slide here, includes the following improvements. So you will be able to select your institution's preferred styles, which will appear at the top of the style selection dropdown. So this was a big sort of feature request that came through after we launched Cite, and it's a really great one. It was one that we were planning on for the next iteration anyway, so it's really nice that both your feedback and our planning has converged. So this just means that you will be able to, in the dashboard, select the preferred styles of your institution, including your institution specific styles that you might have added to the CSL. And then they will then appear at the top of the citation style drop-down list, which will allow you to guide your patrons towards the styles that you want them to be using. So that's one improvement that will be coming with site version 2. The next is that we will be bringing in ebook referencing as a capability. So as I mentioned, currently we only allow for citing of article content. Bringing in ebook referencing will just allow us to sort of provide citation capabilities for more content types. And essentially this will appear, this will mean the citation tool appears on the licensed alternative, open access alternative, and order form pop-ups. And then we will also be providing a list of missing metadata if there is any. So essentially, when we pull the sort of citation style format through from the CSL, we then do an additional call to whatever metadata provider we are hooking up to. So for articles, it's Crossref. For ebooks, we use our own we'll use our own internal service. But I mean, especially in the case of ISBN sort of driven metadata, that can be patchy. So we are dependent on the metadata repositories that we connect to. So if for any reason those metadata repositories don't return a particular field, then we will let the user know that they will need to add in that field themselves. And we will also list the fields that are missing, as you can see in that sort of little mock-up next to the card that mentions the metadata handling there. And then finally, another sort of hotly requested sort of feature improvement, it's that we're going to be extending the site tool to other pop-ups. So this includes all of the pop-ups within our alternatives flow, both the articles and ebooks, as well as the access flow as well. So that is site version 2, and that will be releasing at the end of the month. So you'll see all of these feature or new features and feature improvements coming very shortly. And next I wanted to talk about some recently released product improvements. So these are the sort of releases that I like to call the small but mighty changes. So firstly, something we released a couple of weeks ago is the ability for you to wildcard the resources that you add in your dashboard. So when you go to add a new resource, rather than having to add a new resource for every single, in this example, country code, so google.com, google.co.uk, google.fr, whatever it might be, you can wildcard your resources now. So it just makes everything a lot quicker and easier for you, saving you time, because that's one of our key goals, is to make things easy for you when you're setting up your Loon library. And then the next sort of subset of improvements are specifically for our KBOT clients. So if you have imported content into your stored holdings section of the data of the dashboard, you will now be able to search your KBOT or stored holding records easily, which you can see in the screenshot on the right there. So it will just be the case that you'll see a search bar, you just type out your search and it will start looking for the search query immediately. And this is particularly useful as you can see here in this example, there's 660,000 odd records in there. So not easy to find if you don't have a search bar. So that's a nice small but impactful improvement. The other thing that you'll be able to do is that we've added an import history tab to the stored holdings section of the dashboard. And this will just mean that you can check the status yourselves of your latest KBAR import, and it will also tell you if your import did fail, it will tell you why, also tell you whether it's successful or not, and the date of the import. And also just to note that you will only be able to see this if you have imported stored holdings. So if you don't use KBAR records, for example, within the library, this won't be a section of the dashboard you will see, so you don't need to worry about it.
Before you move on there, Beck, I didn't want to interrupt you, but back to the wildcard. There's just a question in the chat. Do wildcards also work in front of a search term?
They do, yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
Lovely, thanks, Nicole. Do feel free to just jump in with any questions as we go along. Great. If no other questions at this sort of juncture, I am going to go on to what's next. So what you can look forward to, particularly in the next month or less. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is an AI course integration that we are doing with Sage Campus. So as many of you know, Sage is our parent company. We are an independent subsidiary of Sage, and we have been working with Sage Campus, which is one of Sage's products that provides course and instructional content on areas of research methods for students and researchers. And we are particularly interested in this integration because they are creating a free-to-access course on using AI, but particularly ChatGPT. And we are going to be surfacing the free-to-access Sage Campus course within our onboarding feature, which is part of the Workflow for LibGuides package, and it also comes with the Lean Library Features package as well. So this will prompt students to learn about AI before they actually start using it. So when they land on the ChatGPT site, and as you can see from the video here, this will sort of appear as you would expect. If you are familiar with our onboarding feature, it will appear as an onboarding. You can click through to the larger pop-up, and the user can navigate the course from there. What we will do is provide a landing page for the course that when they click through to the modules, they will pop out in new tabs, because we don't necessarily want the user to have to run through a course in that smaller module, but it will essentially be a jumping off point for them to take this course. And then this will be available from April of this year, so in around about a month's time. And this, it's worth mentioning, is going to be completely opt-in. So if you don't want this set up for your users, you absolutely don't have to. You can also preview the course before you set it up. And it will just be a case of you just click the activate the onboarding button, and it will be as simple as that. So if I go on to the next slide, where I wanted to talk about, you know, the benefits for your end users and why we wanted to do this in particular. So this will be, as I mentioned, instantly available to your users, and there'll be no sign up required, so they won't need a Sage Campus login. You won't need to have a Sage Campus license. The course will only be 30 to 60 minutes of learning, depending on how quickly the user wants to go through it. It'll be a very short course, and it will include activities and quizzes, as well as tips and hacks. And then at the end, the user will be provided with a certificate from Sage Campus. And what we will do for you is that we will track the downloads of this course per your institution. Sorry, the downloads of the certificate per your institution. So you can kind of see the take up of this feature, you can see how well this is doing and how it's impacting your students. And you will also be able to preview the course in the dashboard before activating, as I mentioned. Great. So next is a very exciting improvement for us, and that is bringing print books into our alternatives flow. And as many of you might know, and you might use it already, last year we launched a check for print button, and this button essentially ran a query into your library's discovery search, which pulled up a string of ISBNs for the content that the user was looking at when they click check for print. What we want to do now is actually notify your users prior to that click through whether the print content is held in physical format in your library. So they don't need to find out after having clicked through. They will just know as it will become part of the alternatives pop-up hierarchy, so the flow of pop-ups that the extension goes through. The other nice thing about this is that we will also make the print notification available in the side tray alongside the usual alternatives flow. So we'll prioritize the digital content first, but the user will be able to navigate to the side tray to find the print link also. When there's no digital content, we will send them to, we will provide the pop-up for the link to send them to your holdings to show them where the print location is. One thing we won't be doing though is pulling the actual sort of location in terms of like shelf number, whatever it might be, through to the pop-up. It will just be a notification that they can find this on your shelves within your holdings, that you have the print book available. And this again will all be translatable as all of our pop-ups are, so you can configure that in the dashboard. Oh, and worth mentioning that this is available initially only for users of EBSCO EDS, Ex Libris Primo, both Standard Primo and VE, and also OCLC WorldCat WMS. These are the sort of the main services that our customers use, but we will be introducing others. This is just sort of like the first port of call. And this will be part of the Lean Library Access package, so available to everyone who uses those discovery services. And we will be launching the sort of beta release at the end of March. And now I'm going to go on to our, again, small but mighty, coming soon product improvements. One of them, which I know has been requested by quite a few of our library partners, is the option to circumvent the smaller onboarding pop-ups. So if you are a Workflow for LibGuides or a Futures client, you'll be familiar with the initial smaller pop-up that notifies the user that there is either a LibGuide or some guidance material that you've put together within your library and are surfacing through the library. And then when the user clicks access this content, clicks the call to action button, then they'll be taken through to the larger modal. And this is essentially to try and prevent our pop-ups from being sort of prominent and invasive. But at the same time, we know that there are instances where you really want to capture your user's attention. So we are giving you the option to really push that LibGuide content in a visual way by going straight to the larger pop-up that displays your onboarding content. And this will be launching in the coming days. So this will be coming very soon. Another improvement that we have finished the development work on and is going into one of our next releases is that we're going to be giving you the ability to duplicate your assist messages. So if there's an assist message that you use in a very similar format across different sort of domains, or for the same domain, but you just like adapt them slightly, you will be able to just click the duplicate message button, which is that tiny sort of little copy style icon, and it will appear at the top of your list of assist messages with the sort of the prefix in the title of copy. If you copy it twice, it'll be copy, copy, and so on. And then we just suggest that you adjust the name accordingly whenever you're able to. Next up, another small little improvement, but we noticed from a sort of a user flow perspective for you all that when you're in the resources menu, if you've created a resource, you can't actually edit the name. You have to go through to a sub menu to be able to edit it. So we wanted to give you the option to edit either the name or the link for the resource from the main resources menu, if this is kind of where you do the majority of your resource configuration. And then lastly, on our sort of coming soon, smaller product improvements, for now at least, we've also, to save space within the side tray, as we know it's a premium, we want to draw your attention, we want to draw your users' attention to the content that's going to make the biggest difference to them. So whether that's the content in the pop-ups that you are adding for their guidance, whether it's an assist message or an onboarding, or your library services links. So if you're a Workflow for LibGuides client, such as your LibChat, whatever it might be, we wanted to save space, essentially. So whenever a user is on a page where none of our tools are active, so it might be their content enhancements, there are no sort of packages that they are able to turn on and off, or for example, they're not on Google or Google Scholar, so the additional library search isn't active, the tools menu will appear collapsed. And again, just to save space and to make sure your users are looking at the tools that are going to be, or like the features that are going to be the most impactful for them.
Just a heads up, Becca, there's just 2 minutes left, so if you want to run through the roadmap quickly.
Yeah, sure. Is that okay? Shall we actually leave the roadmap as an aside, and maybe we can send it as a sort of as an appendix?
Yeah.
And we can answer some questions, because I feel like that's probably the best. Sorry, I talk
No
a lot.
problem at all. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, do you want to moderate the question section?
Yeah, so there hasn't been any questions, but there was a comment from Ali that they're really pleased to see the option to have the large pop-up for onboarding content. So that's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, there hasn't been any other questions. And if you do have any questions at any time, just drop us an email. And we hope you can join us. I just popped it into the chat there for our next product update webinar, which will be Tuesday, April the 2nd at 3 p.m. You can just register through that link. And as Becca said, we'll send out the slides and the recording and a little bit more on the roadmap, so you can have a look at that. But I think that's all from me. Thanks very much, Becca, for hosting today and giving us some really insightful things on what's coming next and the site feature and all the little product releases. But yeah, thanks very much as well to everyone for joining, taking time out of your day, and hopefully we'll see you again in April.
Lovely. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. And as Nicole says, we'll send everything else around as a follow-up.
Great. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much, everyone.